As I mentioned before, the primary response is the first encounter that the B cell or lymphocyte in general has with its specific antigen. Secondary responses involve subsequent encounters with the antigen. So these are any encounters that follow the primary encounter, the first encounter. You will be utilizing the memory cells that were produced during the primary response. And if we're talking about a secondary response that may be your 10th or 20th encounter, you're going to be using the memory cells that were produced during the last proliferation and differentiation that occurred. The memory cells will then provide immunological memory. This is important because that means that a secondary response will be stronger and faster than the primary response, and this can help protect you from getting sick when you are exposed to an antigen again after you have produced the memory cells. So this provides long-term immunity. This is very different than the innate immune response. You do not have immunological memory in innate immunity because you are not producing memory cells. What we're going to do here is we're going to compare the primary and secondary responses. If you look at the y-axis here, this is the amount of antibodies in the plasma, and on the x-axis, this is the number of days. In the primary response, what I want you to notice that the peak levels of antibodies in the plasma do not occur until around day 7. However, in a secondary response, notice that peak levels occur much quicker. In this graph, it's going to be around day 3 or 4. In addition, the amount of the amount of antibodies that are present in your plasma, notice, will be much higher. So you're going to have a stronger response here. The plasma cells will live longer as well. And all of this is due to memory cells that were produced during the previous encounter. After a secondary response, you will also have memory cells that are produced through that secondary response, and those memory cells then will stick around for another encounter. But all secondary responses are going to create the same level of antibodies because you are always starting with basically new memory cells.